Things are going from bad to worse for Cruise's robotaxis. GM's autonomous vehicle Cruise division is already going through a rough patch, with the California Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, recently suspending its driverless permits over safety issues. Now, several new reports have highlighted other issues with the company, including problems with its autonomous vehicles, AVs, recognizing children, and the frequency with which human operators must remotely take control. The company also just announced that it's temporarily suspending production of its fully autonomous Origin transport. The most concerning issue is that Cruise reportedly kept its vehicles on the streets even though it knew they had problems recognizing children, The Intercept reported. According to internal, previously unreported safety assessment materials, Cruise's autonomous vehicles may have been unable to effectively detect children in order to take extra precautions. Cruise AVs may not exercise additional care about children, the document states. Because of that, the company was concerned that its robotaxis might drive too fast near children who could move unexpectedly into the street. Cruise also lacks data around child-specific situations, like kids separating from adults, falling, riding bicycles, or wearing costumes. In one simulation, the company couldn't rule out a scenario where a vehicle strikes a child. In another specific test drive, a vehicle detected a child-sized dummy, but still struck it with a mirror at 28 miles per hour. The company chalked up the problems to inadequate software and testing. Specifically, it lacks AI software that could automatically detect child-shaped objects around the car and maneuver accordingly. In a statement to The Intercept, Cruise admitted that its vehicles sometimes temporarily lost track of children by the side of the road during simulation testing. It added that the problem was fixed and only seen in testing and not on public streets, though it didn't say what specific actions it took to resolve the issue. A spokesperson also said that the system hadn't failed to detect the children, but did fail to classify them as such. It further stated that the odds of an accident involving children were relatively low. We determined from observed performance on road the risk of the potential collision with a child could occur once every 300 miles at fleet driving, which we have since improved upon. There have been no on-road collisions with children. The report also notes that Cruise AVs have trouble detecting large holes in the road, such as construction site pits with Cruise inside, something the company itself called a major risk. GM's own documents indicated that even with its small AV fleet, a vehicle was likely to drive into such a hole at least once a year and into a pit with people inside once every 4 years. That scenario almost happened, according to video reviewed by The Intercept. Onboard cameras show an AV driving right to the edge of a pit, inches away from workers, despite the presence of construction cones. It only stopped because someone waved a slow sign in front of the windshield. All of that raises the question of whether Cruise should be operating its vehicles on public roads. If you can't see kids, it's very hard for you to accept that not being high risk, no matter how infrequent you think it's going to happen, Carnegie Mellon engineering professor Phil Koopman told The Intercept. The child detection issue isn't the only recent expose on Cruise, as it turns out that the robotaxis aren't really autonomous at all. In fact, they require human assistance every 4 to 5 miles, according to a report in the New York Times, confirmed in large part by Cruise CEO Kyle Vogt in Hacker News. Cruise AVs are being remotely assisted, RA, 2 to 4% of the time on average, in complex urban environments, wrote Vogt. That equates to someone intervening every 4 to 5 miles, which could be multiple times on many trips. There is typically one remote assistant for every 15 to 20 driverless AVs, Cruise stated later. Finally, it appears that Cruise has halted production of its Origin autonomous vehicle after the California DMV pulled its license, Forbes reported. In an all-hands meeting with employees, Vogt, referring to the DMV license withdrawal, stated that because a lot of this is in flux, we did make the decision with GM to pause production of the Origin, according to audio from the meeting. A GM spokesperson later confirmed to Engadget that we are finishing production on a small number of pre-commercial vehicles and after that, plan to temporarily pause production. Cruise is still operating its AVs in California, but now must have a human backup driver at the wheel. Meanwhile, California says it has given Cruise a path back to driverless operation. The DMV has provided Cruise with the steps needed to apply to reinstate its suspended permits, which the DMV will not approve until the company has fulfilled the requirements to the department's satisfaction, it said in a statement. Thanks for listening to the show. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Today's show featured journalism by Engadget contributor Steve Dent and was produced by Spoken Layer. I'm Imran Sheikh, and we'll talk more tomorrow.
Spoken Layer.